IPMNation.com.
And we have a caller on the line. I believe this is our guest. Allyson, is that you?
Yeah. Hi, Matt. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Allyson Koplin, of course, from the Dumb and Busted podcast, which is what we discussed the last time you were here. But we wanted to have you back to talk about something else. And Jon Hopwood is here with us as well, by the way. I don't think Jon was here the last time we talked.
Hello.
There's Jon.
Hello. I once short-term denizen of Portland, Oregon, back in 1983.
Oh, okay.
Should have stayed there.
Yeah, I'm sure it was a really different place back then, at least from what I hear.
I bet it still rains all the time, though.
Does it rain a lot
that
there?
is not different.
Oh,
yeah.
okay. Yeah.
It's depressing.
So we wanted to talk about, tell us what you did over your holiday break.
Yeah, so my partner and I were going to take our 2-year-old down in our van to Southern California for like a road trip, surf trip, whatever. And we were seeing all of these pictures coming out of the border with what was going on with the asylum seekers, and we just felt really helpless and powerless and angry and sad. And we thought, well, there is something that we can do, which is it wouldn't be that difficult to collect a bunch of donations and throw them in the van and bring them down with us to an organization down there called Border Angels, and they're out of San Diego. And so we collected donations from the community, and actually we also had a GoFundMe, and people from around the country were giving to that as well, and we used all that money to buy more supplies to bring down. We took all those donations down with us and dropped them with Border Angels, and then they distribute them across the border to the people that need them.
Do you have any idea? I mean, is there a way to quantify how much you were able to raise? And I mean, obviously, it's a lot of what is it? Mostly food and blankets and things like that, or
we got some non-perishable foods, and then sleeping bags, tents, a lot of clothes. It all had to be new clothes because they don't take secondhand ones across the border.
Okay.
So,
what do you mean across the border?
It's some border regulation thing, I guess. But lots of clothes and shoes and hygiene products.
Yeah.
So definitely, because diapers, the things that you go through really quickly. So.
Are Americans over on the other side of the border helping the migrants? Are you supplying stuff on the other side of the border or this side?
Oh, are you saying is the organization on this side of the border?
Well, I know it's San Diego, and I know there are people that help people, because you have to make the journey, and it can be some pretty forbidding territory. Yeah. But I've been seeing even evangelicals are down there trying to help because of the outrage. They're outraged. But I wonder can you be on the other side of the border, or is this just on the U.S. side that you're involved in?
Good question.
Or are there people down, because there seems to be a humanitarian crisis in Mexico now.
Right.
Too.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. So that's what Border Angels does is they take all of those donations across the border.
Okay.
So all the asylum seekers that are completely destitute, that's who they're serving. And what they'll do in order to distribute those supplies is they'll have what they call a caravan of love, and it's volunteers who go to they fill up their vehicles with all the donations that have been dropped with Border Angels, and all together they will caravan across the border to the various Border Angel distribution points in Mexico.
Okay.
Where they can actually hand out the supplies.
Oh, very, very nice. Actually, it's funny. I actually played that Isley Brothers song a couple of months ago on the show, that Caravan of Love.
Oh, cool.
I might have to play that again.
Yeah. Very apt.
So did you, are you able to put any kind of a number on, probably not, sorry. like how much in supplies you were able to collect, or I know that's probably difficult to do.
Well, as far as like our GoFundMe, we got over $700, which at Walmart goes very far. Yeah. So I'm not typically a huge proponent of Walmart, but when it comes to helping people that really need it, it's that we were able to buy 30 pairs of new shoes for men, women, and children, and tons of clothing and just like a whole. Yeah, so $700 goes a long way there. So, and then so that was from the GoFundMe, and then as far as like all the physical donations that we got, it was, God, I mean, I don't really know, but as far as like what that would have cost people, but what I can tell you is it was, I mean, if you're one of those people, kind of like we were, that is just feeling really sad about humanity in this political climate, it's like doing this kind of service project is a really quick way to feel good about people, because we had so many people who they didn't have a whole lot to give, or they were really trying hard to give what little they could or purchase new items for these people. And we even had one lady who was like, I don't get paid until this date, but I want to make sure I get it to you. And so those kinds of things, it was just so touching to see, because it was just a really common feeling that people wanted to help and in whatever way they could.
Yeah. And that's, I'm glad that you said that. And that's, something, in fact, Jenny and I had a conversation about that not long ago about, you see a lot of negativity and a lot of demonization that goes on of these people who are seeking help. And I always say, well, yeah, and it's easy to get down about that and feel badly about it, but it's also important to notice that, when there is that negativity going on out there, there's also good people who stand up against it, and you have to take solace in that. For all the bad, there's good people who stand up and say, no, we're gonna help these people, and we're not gonna demonize them and call them all names.
Well,
and,
they need help.
They need help, right? I mean, that's the whole
point. There's a humanitarian crisis there. Yeah, and it transcends politics.
Right,
I would think.
It should.
Yeah,
it
should.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like so easy to politicize, that situation in that way, like separate yourself from the need to help, And as much as I am on the side politically of like they're doing everything that is legal for them to do, it is their legal right to seek asylum here and all of that. But no matter what you believe, you just can't stand there and watch a mom drag her baby away from tear gas in a diaper and feel okay about that,
Yeah.
So we just sort of were tired of wringing our hands and saying, it's not fair. It's like, well, what is the thing that we can do?
Right. How long was the trip for you?
Well, we have a 2-year-old, so it was like 3 days down.
Yeah.
But
you had to do things efficiently.
Oh, yeah. That's quite a journey.
Yeah.
Thinking of it.
Yeah.
With a 2-year-old, yeah, absolutely.
It's a nice
He did a good job.
Oh, good, yeah.
Yeah.
Very good. And then in terms of, were you surprised at how much you were able to, at the donations, or was it what you were expecting, or did it exceed your expectations as far as people stepping up and helping?
We were getting a little worried toward the end, because I had actually called up the local news channels, and we had done 2 different news stories in order to try to get more donations.
Yeah.
And so I kind of expected to be inundated with a ton of donations and, potentially get over donated, but it wasn't that kind of response. But what was really nice was in the last few days, a lot of people were like, oh my gosh, what can we do? We just realized you're leaving. We have all this stuff for you, And so right at the very end, we ended up with just about as much as we could handle.
Oh, wow. So that's cool. Good. That's very good. Very good. Do you plan to do this again, or do you plan to do something else in the future when we have these kinds of I guess, I mean, this particular crisis isn't over really, but I mean, do you plan, I mean, you're a busy person, so it's probably not the easiest thing in the world to just drop everything and do more of this. But I mean, do you have future plans as far as doing more with Border Angels, or maybe helping to connect other people with them, or anything like that?
Well, I don't know about doing this exact thing again, although I'd be happy to at any opportunity, because it really was something that's super needed right now, obviously. But we don't have any particular plans, but I think having done something that, it wasn't crazy inconvenient for us. We were getting to enjoy ourselves, and it was just a way to help people. I really enjoyed experiencing the holidays in that way.
Yeah.
Because it is, we did get to take our son to Disney, and just a few miles away, there were people who didn't even have diapers for their kid,
Right.
So I did have a really poignant moment of, I saw a sign that said, international border 36 miles. And it just kind of hit me wow, just in seeing distance from where we are right now, that stuff is going to these people,
right.
So, I don't know any, what particular project we would do, but I definitely would say that we are going to do, service projects going forward, because that's something that's important to us, and it's important that I would like to teach our son. Yeah.
By the way, and I have to ask, I almost, part of me doesn't want to ask, but did you get any pushback from anybody when you were doing this? Did you get any harassment from people who didn't agree with what you were doing?
So we didn't get sort of the, I don't know what better way to put it, but Trumpiness, sort of, we didn't get that kind of pushback.
That's good.
But what we did get were people kind of commenting stuff well, why wouldn't you just help people in our own community? Or there are people in California who, are suffering from the wildfires and stuff. And it's well, number one, that's the thing about giving, is you can give to whoever you want.
Right. Right.
So feel free, if those causes are important to you, you do that.
Exactly. Exactly. And, yeah. That's a good answer.
Right. And number two, I obviously don't want to compare people's needs or problems, but a lot of those people have insurance and have different support than the people that we were trying to help.
And they are getting support.
Right.
And they are getting support.
Right.
It might not be all they need, but they have avenues of support where
right. Yeah.
This is new.
Yeah.
You're helping people that don't have
anything. Yeah.
Right. And if they're on the other side of the border,
yeah.
It's particularly acute, their need.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. And there are not people actively working against people in California who experience these wildfires, actively working against them getting help. Whereas, right. If it weren't for volunteers and donations, these other people, they would have worse than nothing,
Right.
So.
Absolutely. No, I think that's wonderful. And I did, for anyone on Facebook at the moment, I did drop that link into the Facebook live chat for borderangels.org. Jenny's in there. She said, nice. So if people want to learn more about that organization, that's, there's the website for you, borderangels.org. And if you're in your car listening to us while you're driving, of course, that's probably pretty easy to remember. Plus, this will get archived later, but no, that looks like a great organization.
Hey, I have a question.
I'll tell you. Oh, okay. Sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead about Border Angels, but I'd like to ask about here. A question we can answer after you finish is about that there are people here, like in Manchester, New Hampshire, and other places that need help too because of the crackdown on so-called illegal immigrants. Many people have been here for decades. And right now, immigration courts, which would be essential for their rights, aren't being funded.
They're shut down. Part of the shutdown.
We have somebody that likes to defy judges, although the Justice Department will only go so far, and send people back. But so there's things to do locally too. But go back to the border because it's a fascinating story.
Well, I was just going to say the reason we chose that organization in particular is, you know, a lot of times when people want to help in sort of disaster situations and try to go in and do everything themselves, it ends up being more of a cluster than it would have if people had stayed back, you know?
Yeah.
And so they're set up to really, I mean, they have their distribution points. They've been helping since before this crisis. They know what the need is and how to best distribute it. And they said, you know, when we had kind of tagged them in our post, like dropped everything off, it was, you know, thanks to everyone who donated. They said that they, at this point, have been able to deliver over 25 tons of donations and counting.
Wow.
And they're also helping with some legal and medical stuff with families as well. So, you know, they are really well prepared. They also have a GoFundMe on their own website, or I don't know if it's GoFundMe, but they have, you know, a way to donate to them directly as well. So
okay, yeah, John raised an interesting question, and it makes me wonder if you know about this or if you're seeing this in your own community in Portland, where you know people are being sent back who probably shouldn't even be you know legally deported, but because because we have this government shutdown, some of the courts are closed, and people are we're certainly seeing that here. I mean, do you see any of that where you are?
Well, we had a huge, like, sort of, I don't want to say stand-in. It was like weeks-long thing against ICE, like a protest, you know, where people were inundating the ICE headquarters and just stayed there camped out. And they couldn't actually get the deportees out of the building, and they had to sneak them out at some point, I guess. But so they had to move there where they were working out of. But, you know, Portlanders are generally pretty reliable when it comes to getting out for a cause. So
that's good.
It is nice to live in a community where people are generally pretty conscious of that. I don't know to what degree that there's people, you know, being deported from here, but I've definitely noticed like the stories coming up in the news that weren't necessarily there before. So you're not seeing people dragged off the street, but certainly those news stories are...
You don't know about it or think about it. But it's a good opportunity now to think about these things.
Yeah, absolutely.
And here, there was a sanctuary movement like last year, and there wasn't the support that you would think, even amongst like churches and that. It was kind of disappointing. You
mean for us to become a sanctuary city officially, or
to provide sanctuary to people that were being targeted by ICE that had been here?
Oh, yeah.
And you know, you look to the community for support, like even liberal churches, and they're not coming out with support. Yeah. And the people that belong to these churches aren't coming out with the support either. That's New Hampshire, which is a very strange place. I'm more akin to people in Oregon or California, honestly. You know?
Right.
So this could be an opportunity to, you know, mobilize people to help the people. When I was in the Army, you know, you meet people stationed in Texas. You cannot be in the Army and not be stationed in Texas. You'd have a friend who was Mexican-American, and inevitably, I say that inevitably, they'd have a parent or a grandparent that had been here for years and didn't have a citizenship.
Sure.
And it's just not people from Mexico either, because I was in Monterey, which is the Defense Language Institute. You'd meet all sorts of people, you know, that had a huge, diverse community because of the linguists and everything. People that overstayed visas. People had been brought here by their parents or child, and they never got their passport or their citizenship because you never thought about those things. Mm-hmm. And there are all these people that get caught between this legal rock and a hard place because there's the letter of the law and then there's justice.
Right.
You know, somebody that's lived here for 30 years. That's like the DREAM Act. These kids that are here, but technically they're not American.
Right. Yeah.
U.S. citizens.
Right.
But for all practical purposes.
Yeah, this is all they've ever known.
Right.
Yeah.
And I might add, by knowing immigrants and being very intimate with with them, I've had many immigrant friends. It's just, you know, they look at America as a beacon that means something.
Right.
They really do. And stuff like this happens, they're aghast.
Yeah, of course.
It's like a betrayal of America, the America they always thought of, that they came to, that they're grateful to, that they're here.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Allyson, did you have anything else you wanted to say on that? Because I do want to. I want to talk about Dumb and Busted a little bit too before we let you go. But
and before you play Caravan of Love.
That's right.
Let's see. No, I mean, I guess I didn't really have anything to say, but I did enjoy during the holidays seeing. I don't know if you guys had this where you are, but a lot of the churches where I am, they would have their nativity scenes and then like a little fence around it, and it said they were asylum seekers too.
Oh yeah. I didn't see it. I didn't see any of that locally, but I remember
you're on the left coast.
But I saw pictures. Yeah, but I did see pictures online of that, and I thought that was pretty cool.
The tax-free church of we had a problem, but we won't talk about it.
Right.
Something showed up. Something showed up. That we weren't expecting.
That's a little inside, but anyway, yeah. But no, I did see some pictures of that online. Yeah, I thought that was pretty cool.
It's almost biblical.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool.
I mean, it's like, well, that is kind of the people that are very much. I don't want to generalize, but there are definitely a block of people who it's not in line with the values of what they're preaching,
right.
To be against helping these people. So.
Right, exactly. Well, we should touch on Dumb and Busted, the podcast. Of course, we talked about it at length the last time you were on, but
is it busted? Is it like in busted flat, or busted like the cops have put the bracelets on you? Or, a twist
busted, like they got you. The jig is up.
Yes.
Twist tie time.
There you go. Yeah, John is. I think he's probably going to invite you to call into his show at some point.
Yeah, I have a TV show.
He has a TV show that he does. But we should just kind of remind everybody, or for newer listeners who didn't hear our previous conversation, just kind of give us the synopsis of what Dumb and Busted is about.
Sure. So my friend Hannah and I talk about true crime stories of exceptionally smart and insanely stupid crimes. So we often have comedians as guests, and we release every week on Thursdays. Yes.
And it's you're up to, 41 episodes now, I think?
Yep, 42 comes out today.
Very
True
good.
True crime, huh?
Yeah.
I'm still on the big Manson family. I follow that one since 1969, in fact.
Wow.
Yeah. Big one.
We haven't covered them yet, but I think
I have some.
Yeah, maybe in the future we'll see.
Yeah. All right, and you can you can find that pretty much everywhere you can find podcasts, correct? It's on iTunes and all the rest.
Exactly right.
Very good.
Yep,
very good.
iTunes, Spotify.
Now, are these real, like, spectacular crimes, like mass murderers, stuff like that, murder of celebrities? Because, I love James Ellroy, the crime novelist. He just did a thing for the Hollywood Reporter on the death of Sal Mineo in his inimitable style.
Oh.
Oh, yeah.
Or these just
ours are,
local
we try to keep
miscreants.
them on the zanier side because it is a true crime comedy podcast.
Ooh.
So if we get too dark, we've definitely had a couple learning curve episodes where it got a little dark and we had to be like, hey, it's hard to be too funny about that. Like, it's just really tacky. So
sounds great.
You need to keep it zany and fun.
Yeah.
So,
you need to watch John Waters' movie, Female Trouble. I just watched it last night.
Never even heard of that.
I have it on DVD.
Okay.
With Divine, John Waters.
Remember Divine.
Lionized Tex Watson of the Manson family. And it's about the making of a killer by Divine.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, sounds great.
It actually is.
No, it does. No, it does sound great.
But she's talking about dark comedy.
Yeah. No, that's great.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Allyson, we'll let you go. Allyson Koplin, thank you so much. Keep up
thanks so much for having me.
Keep up the great work on all fronts. And no, it's been wonderful to talk to you about this specifically. I think it's a great thing, and we'll talk to you again soon, I'm sure.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, Matt and John, and have a good rest of your day.
All right, Allyson, you too. Bye-bye.
IPMNation.com.